Hello all and welcome to the session of Practical Approach to UX Inspection. Before starting with this UX inspection, let us see the UX life cycle and in which phase do we belong to. So first phase in the UX life cycle is analyze phase, second is design phase, third is prototype phase, and then final phase is your evaluation phase. So when I say evaluation phase, basically we verify the designs that it meets the expectation of the users, and finally user will be able to use it and then they will have a better experience. The emotional impact will be really good. And if suppose there is any kind of complications or something needs to be changed, that refinement is done in the evaluation phase. But how do we come to know about those refinements, or how do we come to know about what problems is our system having? So for that, evaluation has two different types of techniques. One is rigorous evaluation, one is rapid evaluation. However, when we say that some projects, especially large domain complex system projects, require rigorous lab-based UX evaluation process, because if the domain is complex, there are many things to be tested, and that too in detail, so that users have a better experience. So lab-based evaluation is always preferred. However, if there are smaller fast-track projects, including those for developing commercial products, they often demand techniques that are faster and less costly than your lab-based evaluation, because lab-based evaluation is actually costly. So when they try to find something which is faster and less costly in the hope of achieving much of effectiveness but at the lower cost, we call these techniques as rapid because they are about being fast, which means saving cost. Here are some few characteristics of rapid based evaluation which will give you a clear picture about what is rapid evaluation. So as the name goes, as rapid evaluation, it is going to be a quick evaluation. That means rapid evaluation techniques always aim at finding qualitative data. That means we will observe the user, take user's opinion, and then finally do the evaluation. So basically we are finding UX problems that are cost effective, and then we finally fix it. However, in some situations we also work with quantitative measurements, like giving ratings from 1 to 5 or taking their opinions in terms of a rating scale. That also can be done, but that is done with quite few. There is heavy dependency on practical techniques. That means one of the techniques which are followed in your rapid evaluation is think aloud technique. Now, as the name goes, think aloud. It says that when you have to do the evaluation, you call any expert or any stakeholder to come and you will give them some task to perform. When the user or the stakeholder is performing the task, whatever he is thinking in the mind, he has to say it aloud. There could be any kind of exaggeration, any kind of happiness, any kind of question. Whatever is going on in the mind has to be said loudly. And that thing either is recorded or it is noted down by a person who's standing and evaluating and seeing what you're performing. So that is what makes up your rapid evaluation. In rapid evaluation, everything is less formal and there are very few rules, because there could be some kind of variability in the process also. That means which almost every session we could have different answer depending on the condition. So there are no rules fixed up when you work with rapid evaluation. Now there is a freedom to adapt to conditions that could be more spontaneous. So sometimes your you can say experienced practitioners are work with your rapid evaluation because they have experience and they know what could be the final evaluation. Now when I say about rapid evaluation, there are very few practitioners or teams today that use any pure rapid evaluation method. They adapt and combine various processes to suit their own process or schedule, or if they have any kind of resource limitations. We highlight some of the most popular techniques that are suitable for the projects depending on the design and evaluation. So inspection is basically the primary and the rapid method of technique which we will discuss in detail. There is one more technique called as quasi-empirical method. That becomes an abridged version, or you can say shorter method to your lab-based evaluation, which is very popular and very effective. In our video today, we will be seeing and a focus will be on UX inspection, which is a part of rapid evaluation. Now, it is very much important to have a design walkthrough. Now, what is a design walkthrough? A design walkthrough is an easy and quick evaluation method that can be used with almost any stage of progress, but which is specially effective for early interaction design evaluation before a prototype exists. Design walkthroughs usually entail a group working collaboratively under the guidance of a leader. The group leader can include the design team, UX analyst, subject matter expert, customer representatives, and potential users. The goal of design walkthrough is to explore a design on behalf of users to simulate the user's view of moving through the design, but to see it with an expert's eye. The team is trying to anticipate problems that the user might have if they were the ones using the design. It is usually more realistic and engaging to explore the design through the lens of usage or design scenarios. The leader walks the group through the whole workflow patterns that the system is intended to support. A characteristic that distinguishes design walkthrough from various kinds of user-based testing is that the practitioners in charge does the driving instead of the customer or the user. As the team follows the scenarios, looking systematically at parts of the design and discussing the merits and the potential problems, the leader tells stories about usage, user intention, and actions and outcomes. The leader explains what the user will be doing, what the user might be thinking, and how the task fits in the work practice, workflow, and the context. As the potential UX problem arise, some records them on a list for further consideration. Walkthroughs may also include consideration of compliance with design guidelines and style guides, as well as questions about emotional impact, including aesthetics and fun. Beyond just the details of UX and other design problems that might emerge, it is a good way to communicate about the design and keep on the same page within the project. When we use the term UX inspection, we are aware that you cannot inspect UX but must inspect a design for user experience issues. A user inspection, or I can say a UX inspection, is an analytical evaluation method in that it involves evaluating by looking at and trying out design yourself as an expert instead of having participants exercise it while you observe. The evaluator is both participant and the observer. Inspectors ask themselves questions about what would cause users problem. So the essence of this method is the inspector giving an expert opinion predicting UX problems. Because the process depends on evaluator's judgment, it requires an expert, a UX practitioner or consultant, which is why this kind of evaluation method is also sometimes called expert evaluation or expert inspection. These evaluation methods are also sometimes called as heuristic evaluation, but that term technically implies to one particular version, that is the heuristic evaluation method, which was can say developed by Nielsen, in which heuristics or generalized design guidelines that are used to drive an inspection. Now, there are some of the inspection methods or something which is actually recommended, or I can say that when can a UX inspection be used. So UX inspection should be used where you want to save the expenses, or you want to save on more powerful tools. So there your UX inspection can be used. UX inspection can also be used when you have not yet done any kind of evaluation. It is specially appropriate when you are brought in to evaluate an existing system that has not gone, you can say that has not undergone previous UX evaluation or iterative design. You can also use this technique, UX inspection, where you cannot afford or cannot do lab-based testing. for some reason but still want to do some kind of evaluation. Now, when I say lab-based testing, in the lab-based testing, we all know that since we want to improve the evaluation effectively, we add as number of participants we want until we do not find a proper kind of a UI or proper kind of system. Similarly, in UX inspection also, to improve the effectiveness, you can add more inspectors. So most heuristic inspections are done by a team of 2 or more usability inspectors, typically 2 or 3 inspectors. However, it depends on conditions and a great deal on the system you are inspecting. Nielsen and Landauer found that under some conditions, a small set of experts in the range of 3 to 5 is optimal before diminishing returns. Not surprisingly, Nielsen found that UX experts make the best inspection evaluators. Sometimes it is best to get a fresh view by using an expert evaluator who is not on the project team. If those UX experts also have knowledge in the subject matter domain of the interface being evaluated, all the better. Those people are called as dual experts and can evaluate through both the design guidelines perspective and the work activity or workflow and task perspective. The equivalent of having a dual expert can be approximated by a team approach, pairing up the UX expert with a actual work domain expert. Now let us see what exactly practical approach for UX evaluation is used by the author from the book of the UX book, which is written by Rex Hartson and Partha Paila. So what if suppose we have got an evaluation to do which needs to have an early assessment. So let's take an example. First, the knock on your door. It is the boss. You, the practitioner, are being called in and asked to do a quick assessment of prototype, an early product, or an existing product being considered for revision. You have 1 or 2 days to check it out and give feedback. You feel that if you can give some valuable feedback on the UX flaws, you will gain some credibility and maybe get a bigger role in the next project sometime. What method will you use? There is no time to go to lab and even said have any kind of standard inspection because the time is less. You have just 1 to 2 days and you have to give the feedback. So in that case, we require a practical, fast and efficient approach to UX inspection. So the author has given us a better solution for the situation. Let us understand. The first is we need to be driven by experience, not by heuristics or guidelines. So the author says that having an expert working and practical knowledge of design guidelines is essential to support the rapid analysis used to decide what issues are real problems and to understand the underlying nature of the problem and potential solution. The author as well as says that we need to follow a usage-based approach because it allows the practitioners to take on the role of the user since it's a usage-based approach, taking the process from purely analytical to include at least a little empirical. So when I say analytical, it means I'm just describing it. But when I say empirical, it means I'm actually using it and then finally working with it. So we focus on the tasks, the work activities which are there. So at the end, the usage becomes the driving perspective. So it is always said that you have to work through the experience, not some kind of guidelines. The second, it says that you need to use a co-discovery or a team approach in UX inspection. Now, when I say about expert UX practitioners, they work as an expert, but they play the role of UX detectives. To aid the detective work, it can help to use 2 practitioners working together as can say as a mutual consent and then finally thinking more in detail about the approach. So when I say about a UX person working as a detective, you have to follow up on cues and then finally gather a large number of problem notes. Whenever you have two practitioners working together, it can solve more problems because you have more of brainstorming which is happening. So at the end, you get more different kinds of issues which can be faced. However, it is very important to include one customer representative who is a non UX person. So we can get the overview if the person is able to perform some task or not. So working with a co-discovery or a team approach is very important in UX inspection. Next, when we say about, it says you need to explore systematically with a rich and comprehensive usage oriented view. So as an inspector, you should just not look for individual little problems associated with individual tasks or functions. You need to go through every process and use all your experience and knowledge to see the big picture. Keep an expert eye on the high level view of the workflow, the overall integration of the functionality, and the emotional impact factors that go beyond usability. We need to consider the three design perspectives which we have studied earlier. Now, when I say about three design perspectives, there are some questions which can come like, does the system ecology make sense? Is the conceptual design for interaction appropriate for envisioned workflow? What about the conceptual design for emotional impact? So all these questions can arise when I work with my UX inspection and see for a comprehensive, you can say usage oriented view. The time and effort required for a good inspection are more or less proportional to the size of the system. So the bigger the size of the system, the more kind of inspection will be required. When I say more kind of inspection, it means that more effort and time will be required. The main skill you need to finding UX problems as you inspect the design is your detective's eagle eye for curious and suspicious incidents or phenomena. The knowledge requirement centers on design guidelines and principles and your mental inventory of typical interaction design flows you have seen before. So your experience count. Now, when I say about UX inspection, we also need to consider emotional impact inspection as well. So, in the past, inspections for evaluating interaction designs has been almost exclusively usability inspection. But this kind of evaluation can easily be extended with more of UX inspection where we address the issues of emotional impact. So among the emotional impact questions that you need to have in mind while doing UX inspection, few are listed. So the listed questions could be, is the packaging and the product presentation aesthetic? Is the usage fun? Is the visual design attractive? So when I say visual design attractive, I'm seeing about the colors, the shapes, the layouts and see whether it is creative or not. To see if the target is a product. And there are other questions also which are listed, which is very important. Most important, does the brand stand for progressive, social and civic values? So these are the few questions which are listed in front of you asked during the emotional impact inspection. Now, most of the questions in a questionnaire for assessing the emotional impact are also applicable for your inspection questions. So there are a few questions which you can ask is the system or product interesting? Is it exciting? Is it innovative? Is it engaging, motivating, desirable, etc.? So these questions also can be asked to make sure that we get a proper result. Next, it says that you need to use all your personalities while doing UX inspection. Now, what it says that you need to be at least dual personality with a slightly schizophrenic melding of the UX expert perspective. Now, when I say about this, it says that you just not need to think in terms of UX expert, but you need to think in terms of UX expert perspective as well as user orientation perspective. So when you have the combination of both where you act like an expert, you observe, you analyze and then you use it and then think and act in that way, how will the user work with that, then you will get a better perspective of how will the system work in the real environment. You have to shed the designer and analyst mindset in favor of design informing views of the world. You must immerse yourself in the usage oriented perspective. Become the user and live usage. Next, very important when you're doing UX inspection is take good notes. So as you do your inspection, a good note taking is very much important for you all to decide which are the critical incidents where the UX problem has occurred. So you cannot just rely on your memory and write down at the end. No, once the process is going on, things can happen very fast. So in that case, just by writing at the end is not sufficient. You have to make sure that you follow the process, as in when you follow the process, whatever comes in the mind, whatever thing is going on, please note it down. We often take notes orally, but sometimes a digital recorder can also help out in that situation. Because we talk very fast, and that time while writing could be a little bit slower. So sometimes we might miss something which is important. So it is very important that you should make good notes. Next, after making the note, it is very important that you analyze your notes. So when I say analyzing notes, sort out all the notes. So whatever inspection notes you have made, you need to sort out, you need to organize them depending on the problem type or depending on the design features. If necessary, you can also use affinity diagram approach on the table or on the wall to sort your all kinds of inspection notes so that you get a clear picture about the clustering, clear picture about whatever you can say categories you're making. You sometimes it is required that you print all notes on small pieces of paper and organize them by topic. So you need to prioritize your recommendations for fixing. Maybe sometimes cost important analysis also needs to be done. Last is that you need to report your result. Now when I say report your result, it is very important that you make some kind of comments or give some kind of recommendations for further evaluation. So you need to have specific points where the actual person has to look in for specific, you can say, questions to the answers which you are expecting people to give. So you need to tell about how you did the whole process to your audience so that they can understand the evaluation context. So whichever method you select for your evaluation, there should be a proper kind of result made, or you can say proper kind of report made. So anyone who goes through the report can understand what exactly, how is the evaluation done, what questions were asked, what kind of answers they have got, what problems they have seen, what kind of severity the problem has. So the ones which has the higher severity will be solved first, and the ones which have lower severity will be solved later on. So depending on the severity of the problem which the UX inspection has gone through, the listing will be done in the report, and that can be taken up by the, you can say, the developer or to the UX analyst who can work on it and then reframe it to have a better version of your design. So this was all the practical approach for UX inspection. Hope you have understood. Thank you.